The ones that we've been waiting for. Well, the topic today is putting the pieces together. And when we consciously choose peace, when we choose to consciously live in that state, then we begin to create from there. But it really does require that we show up in a way that allows us to be the peace that we're looking for. I think sometimes we think that when chaos or confusion or anything ends, then we become peaceful. Then we can be peaceful when everything's okay. But that's not the case. The reason we want to be in that peaceful state is we want to be able to, share ideas and thoughts from a place of compassion, kindness, collaboration, rather than being in, some kind of distress. And remembering too that what we think about, we bring about, rather than sitting back and being in that place of, it'll happen one day. So we have to practice the presence. I remember a story that was shared by Greg Braden in one of his books. And he talked about going hiking with an Indigenous friend of his because they were going to go up to this special place in the hills and pray rain. They wanted, they needed some rain in their province or in their state. So they go up to this hill and they're doing their hiking, and afterwards they're going to go out for breakfast. And when they get to the top, there's a circle of stones, and his Indigenous friend goes and stands in the middle of those stones. And then about a minute later comes out and says, all right, let's go have breakfast. And Greg's like, well, wait a minute. I thought we were going to pray for rain. And his friend says, if we pray for rain, it means we don't have it. He said, I prayed rain. I stood in the middle of that circle and I felt the mud in my toes and around my toes squishing. And I felt the rain pouring over my body. If we pray for something, we're basically telling the universe we don't have it. If we pray peace, we begin to live in that state of peacefulness. And this is where we're striving to get, to take our world into a place of greater peace and understanding. So we have to practice this presence very consciously, definitely, and deliberately. And we can do it. We can do it. I know we can do it. Dr. Holmes has a point about the beingness. And when we will allow ourselves to be fully present, we create something really, really remarkable. And just like in the song, Karen Drucker, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. I've been feeling like I can't make a difference. I've been feeling like there ain't no use. Feel tired and a little unconscious, coming up with any kind of excuse. I think oftentimes that's where we're living. We're looking at the news, we're looking at what's going on, and it's feeling kind of dire and dour. It's like, what do I do with all this? I'm one person. How can one person make a difference? But what we want to remember is that one person knows another person who's probably in the same position. If we begin to live truly in that place of honoring the peace that we are, the divinity that we are, living from that place of oneness with the divine, we begin to shine a light into the world that is far more powerful and creative and productive than if we sit in the, oh no, everything's bad, terrible. Whatever we're doing, we are creating within this one thing. So any way that we're feeling, we want to check in with that feeling, feel it, sit with it, and actually get a sense of why I'm feeling that way. What has triggered it? And then begin to choose something else. So one of the things that Gandhi said is, be the change you wish to see in the world. And that's a really powerful statement. Be the change. So when we look around us, sometimes in the midst of conflict or things aren't working quite the way we had hoped, there's a sense of, I'm a victim. There's nothing I can do about this. But that actually is not true. We are powerful, creative beings. And yes, we have the ability to do whatever is needed to change that. And the way we do it is through the way we think. So be the change you want to see in the world. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing would suffice to solve most of the world's problems. The difference between what we do and what we're capable of doing. What if we started living from that capability? What if we started living from the I can do more, I could be more? What if we took this statement of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and said, wait a minute, I could be the difference. Here's what I'm doing, but here's what I could be doing. And we begin to expand the possibilities. And for every one of us who does that, there is a collective change that occurs. And Mother Teresa said it really clearly when she said, I will not participate in anti-war demonstrations. However, if you're doing a pro-peace rally, I'm in. I'll be there. I think when we look at all these remarkable people and the stories that they had and the things that they thought about, I think we want to remember that there is a reason why we are where we are, and consciousness is the creator of all of it. So if we can shift that consciousness, we begin to create something new. The Peace Pilgrim, remarkable woman. One little person giving all of her time to peace makes news. Many people giving some of their time can make history. Imagine if we all did what the Peace Pilgrim was doing, even if we did it part-time, a few hours here and a few hours there, what difference that might make in the world and in history, as she suggested. Thich Nhat Hanh said, every breath we take, every step we make can be filled with peace, joy, and serenity. All of this is choices. We look at events and we decide good, bad, right, wrong, here, there. What if we looked at events and went, neutral? It's just neutral. And I didn't apply the ideas of bad and wrong and terrible to it. Would there be a greater amount of peace in my world? I'm thinking maybe. Chinese proverb, the person who says something is impossible should not interrupt the person who is doing it. Yes, very important. Very important. Because sometimes we look at things and we go, well, that can't be done. And then somebody goes and does it. So this idea of peace is not new. I mean, we've been talking about this forever, and, maybe we haven't accomplished a lot, but maybe we have. Maybe we're getting to a tipping point. Maybe we're getting to a place where it's possible that there's going to be that quantum shift that occurs because we've reached the critical mass. It's possible. It is possible. I think we want to reframe how we look at things and stop using words like this is impossible or that can't happen, and instead sit back and say, now's the time. What's my part? What is there for me to do? Ernest Holmes wrote also that God is no respecter of persons, just as the master teacher Jesus is known as the great example, not the exception for all of the miracles performed. So when we take a look at these teachings, whether we've gotten them from various sources, we want to take a look at who we are in the midst of all of it. Who are we as we stand in this moment? Are we an example of peacefulness, or are we an example of disruption? Are we a model of the way to live to create harmony, collaboration, cooperation, love in our world? Or are we disruptors that are going around going, no, that can't happen, and putting a lot of negativity and destruction in? See, all of us have the ability to be the peace we want to see in the world, but it has to begin right here. Right here. See, I can't change anyone. other than me. And so if I want to see a peaceful world, then I must be that. And as I choose to be that, what happens is that energy radiates out from me. And as a result, there is a little bit more peace, at least in my immediate environment. But what happens if one other person is touched by that? And then that person sees the benefit and the possibility of living in this peaceful state. And then they are with people. And the people they're with begin to see the benefits that person's experiencing, and they begin to embrace and embody the ideas as well. Peace doesn't happen because we've stopped all conflict. Peace happens because we chose, in the midst of conflict, to be the peace that we desire. Wherever we have a challenge in life, wherever we see an injustice, we have an opportunity to either play into the idea that I'm a victim, or to sit back instead and go, wait a minute, let me rise. Let me rise up from this. Let me choose something different. Let me allow myself to see the possibilities. And so we look at whatever's going on, and we don't name it good or bad. We just go, okay, well, here's the event. Now what? And when we accept what is and begin to take steps toward what we truly desire, a change occurs, and it's powerful, and it's productive and positive. Every time we think about what's going on, we have to remember that everything that's happening is happening for a reason. And the reason is to reveal your own divine purpose. And your purpose is to make a positive difference in the world. And you do that by being who you are. You know, our vision is about creating this space where we can all live authentically. And that as we live from that authenticity, we begin to create something quite remarkable in our world. And that's what's exciting, is that idea that if I just hold on for a moment, if I take the time to just breathe into this moment, and instead of calling it bad or wrong or even right or perfect, to sit back and go, it is what it is. And what it is a pathway forward, or it is a block that allows me to move in a new direction. But all of it is serving me. And when I can begin to look at it that way, that this is serving me, this is lifting me up, this is allowing me to really express my gifts and talents in ways that I hadn't even thought of before, that's when I start to realize that I'm using this infinite presence and power for my good. Ernest Holmes says there's a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. Yeah, it's greater than you are, and you can use it. Well, we are using it. We're using it all the time, but it responds to us according to the way we use it. If I say I'm an idiot, it says yes. If I say I'm powerful, positive, and productive, it says yes. The answer the universe gives me always is yes. What message or what request am I putting out? Am I living in peace, or am I sitting back going, I really hate wars and I really wish this wouldn't happen? And why is all this violence going on? I'm focusing on the violence. And my focus is what the universe is saying yes to. So when I look at the world in distress, I don't want to focus on the distress. I want to focus on the potential of shifting that into something beautiful, positive, and productive. A place where people, collaborate with one another, and they don't compete, but rather see the beauty in each person's gifts, and how when used together, they create a world of harmony and love and expansive awareness that takes us to a whole new place. There's a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. And if what you think about your purpose, if it feels too big or impossible, yet you feel a calling, it's time to sit back and say, I am the possibility. I am possible, and create from there this idea, whatever it might be. It's time to start playing the yes, I can, yes, I will game. We want to begin to say yes to the inspiration that comes. We want to say yes to the possibility that's lying before us. It's time to say yes to the good that is surrounding, to acknowledge where our good actually is coming from. And to remember that if we work within this universal frame, all things are possible. All things are possible. So I want you to think for a moment about the idea of peace. What does it feel like? What would it look like? I mean, imagine for yourself in your own family or where you live with your neighbors and such. Is there a peacefulness there? Or does it feel like there's disruption and chaos? What we want to do is see peace. Just like that man standing in the circle of stones felt the mud between his toes, the rain pouring over his body. Visualizing that, feeling that, that is a powerful, powerful statement that will bring whatever it is we're asking for, because we're seeing it as done. We're seeing it as complete. So imagine for the moment that you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is you just allow yourself to be calm and centered. You take a breath and you welcome the day rather than jumping out of bed, hitting the shower, grabbing a coffee and racing out the door. But instead, you take a moment to simply be, to scan your body to see how you feel physically. And any little ache or pain, you simply notice, observe, and realize it has no power. It's merely an experience that your body is having. And we begin to shift. We wake up lovingly. We go in the bathroom and look in the mirror and smile. Smile at ourselves. And start the day by saying, I love you. I love you. Imagine what life would be like living from that idea of love and possibility, of hope and well-being, of choosing what it is we desire, choosing the wonderful experiences, choosing to say all is well, regardless of what's going on. All is well. All is well. I want you to say that to yourself. All is well. All is well. Doesn't matter what's going on. If you begin to chant that idea that all is well, what happens is goodness begins to expand and grow. That as we focus on peace, we notice how much more peaceful we are and the people around us as well, as we begin to open our hearts to collaboration rather than competition. We start to see a gathering of people coming together harmoniously, kindly, lovingly, respectfully. We start to see a shift that is quite huge and that transforms our whole world. We're the ones we've been waiting for. And if we can see the world through peaceful eyes, we can begin in a place of compassion, kindness, respect to transform what's currently going on. But we can't do it through resistance, and we can't do it through blaming. We have to do it from an empowered position of knowing my oneness with the infinite. Because if I'm live, move, and have my being in it, okay, that means I am a part of it. that the attributes of it are my attributes. And so I can take those gifts and live from them. And by doing that, I become far more powerful. And powerful in a way that I'm expressing divine goodness rather than holding back, where I'm allowing life to flow. So Dr. Bill Hornaday wrote a book on Ernest Holmes called The Inner Light. And he wrote, Ernest Holmes' philosophy insisted and demonstration proved that we can know peace of mind, health, abundance, and growth in spiritual understanding by turning with an already believing faith to the power within, the divine I am, the light that lighteth every person who cometh into the world. A shining path awaits each of us, Ernest said, and those who seek will find it. So what are we seeking? Are we seeking goodness and peacefulness and joy, or are we striving to be right? Are we competing with friends and family so that we can be better than? We do that sometimes, don't we? I want to invite you to stop. If that's something you've done, just don't. In fact, look at the qualities that you see in a friend or a relative that you admire. And I want you to notice how that quality already exists within you. If you can see it, there's a part of you that must be it. Let's stop trying to be something we're not. Let us embrace who we are, knowing that in this place of our true divinity, there is a possibility far beyond our wildest imaginings. And this is our place of creation. And the key is, do we have the courage to step into our greatness? Do we have the courage to be who we were created to be? Do we have the courage to shine in the midst of darkness? Do we have the courage to be who we really are without apology, without hesitation, without resistance? Are you ready for that? Are you ready to jump in and be you? All of you? What you have deemed good and what you've deemed bad? All of it together works together. It works together to create. By being who you really are, by giving up the masks, all of those ways of being that helped you to try to fit in. If we stop doing that, we begin to create our own pathway, our own road forward. And it will carry us easily, comfortably, beautifully toward our highest vision for our lives. I think it's time. How about you? How about you? Could we make a pact that every day we're going to practice this, that we're going to do things to allow us to be more peaceful and to share ideas? Ernest Holmes wrote, "Peace I leave with you, my peace give I unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." This is what Jesus knew, and this is the only thing that will bring peace on earth. We must know who we are. We mustn't be afraid of who we are, and we must shine that light in the world. If we want peace, we need to be it. Peace is a practice, not a hope. That was Thich Nhat Hanh. Peace is a practice. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God." Bob Seema, The Movers, the Shakers, the Peacemakers, wrote, "We are the movers and the shakers and the peacemakers. We are the lovers and the leaders. We are the ones we've been waiting for. This journey that we're on, this exquisite journey called life. It's not about getting it right, and it's not about being perfect. It's about being in each and every moment, living life fully, moment by moment, being who we are and allowing life to shine through that experience. In the book, The Inner Light, Hornaday is asking questions and talking to Holmes, and he says, but how can you and I be at peace as long as other people on our earth are obliged to live in horror? You know, a child is murdered, dictators impose slavery on whole societies. How can we know comfort when other people's lives are tragic? And Holmes said, there is evidence that humanity is evolving. I look to the day when we overcome our experiences and rise triumphant over present limitations. There are mysteries, but now we know there is also law. In order to abide here, we must have a very positive acceptance of the ultimate goodness of life, toward which goodness I believe we are all traveling. We have will and choice in this life, but the universal intelligence must be the essence of goodness, beauty, and truth. When we accept that there is a power greater than we are, fully active in our lives and in our world, when we begin to live from that understanding, we start to see very, very quickly the possibilities that are there for us. We can make it happen. So how do we do that? Well, there's personal practice, right? So we can start with a regular meditation, a meditation practice on peace. Could be a mantra. I am the I am. I am peace. Peace is my reality. We can begin to look at it from that perspective. We could also do some kind of a community outreach. You know, hand out flowers to strangers or smile at everyone you meet. That's easy, right? Just a big smile. Offer free hugs in a public place. We did that a few years back at Young Dundas Square. And it was interesting to watch. Some people quickly crossed the street over to the other side of Young so they didn't have to walk past us. Some people really crowded the edge of the curb to try and get away from us. And many people came running up and grabbing those hugs because they knew how precious they are. You could create and hand out acts of kindness cards. Little cards that say, you're wonderful or you're beautiful. I just bought a sweatshirt that on the front says you are enough. And on the back it says, dear person behind me, the world is a better place because you're in it. Love the person in front of you. There's ways that we can bring a smile into the world. And it's up to us to do that in whatever way we can. They also suggested, a flash mob. You could do a flash mob. That takes a little bit of time and effort to put that together. We're on a journey, and it's up to each one of us to choose to walk it or not. But whatever choice we make is the one that will be our reality. So choose to practice some random acts of kindness. Choose to look in the mirror and tell yourself how beautiful, wonderful, and remarkable you are. Send little love notes to your kids in their lunch boxes, or turn around and tell your neighbor how remarkable they are. Share something lovely with another human being. A conversation, a gift. Doesn't take much. Hold the door for somebody getting off the bus or somebody getting into a building. the ease in which we can create a peaceful world is really remarkable. I invite you to give it a shot. Thank you.